Coming in hot from Arizona, this is Trevor
and Troy Howard.
and you're on So Tell Us Time. You can have everything you want in your business. Sometimes you just need a little help.
Every business owner would love to charge more for their services, but sometimes you can sacrifice long-term loyalty for a short-term profit.
Creating the right rituals is key to your business having success.
Are you tired of competing with your competitors? Guess what? You don't have to compete if you create.
Good morning, everybody. It's an awesome Tuesday morning, as usual, because it is So Tell Us Time.
That's right.
And we are continuing our multi-series podcast, I guess we're going to call it. Multi-series, right? This is part 2 of our Facts Tell, Stories Sell. And last week, in part 1, we talked about creating your story to supercharge your marketing, right?
Yep.
Creating that story. You were supposed to get your story. Your homework from last week was to get that story nailed down. And I'm sure you all did that, right? This week, you all did that last week. So this week, you're ready to go with part 2. Okay. All right. Well, Troy, I'm going to let you just dive in, and hopefully you all have your story. Maybe Troy will be nice to you if by chance one or two of you didn't have the time to get your story prepared.
Yeah. So if you don't have, if you do have your story, keep listening, because I'm going to give you some really good ideas on how to make your story better. But if you don't have your story yet, I'm going to give you some ideas of how to come up with that story. So it's really important that you have a great story with your business, right? It's going to help people connect to your business. We talked about it last week about how it just supercharges your marketing, makes your marketing, 100 times better than what it might be without it. So let's talk about, I'm going to give you some ideas and some questions to think about to help you come up with the good story for your business. And we'll kind of give you some ideas, along those questions too. So one of the first questions you want to ask yourself is, why did you start this business in the first place?
Right.
That's a big factor. And a lot of times that's a catalyst for it might be I was working for somebody else and, in the same industry, and I saw that they, just took advantage of people and overcharged them for everything. And I knew that I could come in and give them a better product for a better price.
Right.
That's a good story, right? That's a good start to a story. So think about why you started your business. It may be that you just, you didn't want to work for for other people, and you wanted to work for yourself. And if you work, if you sell to other businesses, that's a great story of like, look, I didn't want to be, punching the clock 9 to 5. I wanted to own my own business and be an entrepreneur, just like you're an entrepreneur, right?
Well,
the people you're selling to.
And let me jump in real quick and go off script here and tell a quick story.
There you go.
This is why. I'll show you how good stories can be. Why did So Tell Us even become So Tell Us? Well, it started a long, long time ago in a far-off land. No, I'm just kidding. It started here in Arizona, actually.
Yeah.
But it started 22 years ago when Ron, who was a traveling salesman for all of my life growing up, I really didn't even know Ron very well until I was like 18 years old, because he was gone Monday through Saturday most weeks.
Yeah.
He'd come home on Sunday. It was like a blur of a man, right? He'd come home on Sunday. We'd go to church. We'd have dinner. And then, bam, he'd be gone the next day off selling. Now, he was a phenomenal salesman. And to the tune of that, he won. If you've ever been in a sales position with a large company, there are trips you can win.
Yeah.
There are watches you can win. There are cars you can win. I mean, he won everything. He would sell hundreds of millions of dollars for these companies.
Yeah.
And in turn, these companies would just give him everything, right? They would just reward him and just be like, you're the best. We just love you. We want to hold on to you forever. And we never want you to leave. We want you to retire with us, right? Wrong. No, these companies would get so scared of him because he was so influential within the company as well as with the clientele that they would do to him what's called breaking up his book. He had a book of business that he would build, and they would break it up, and they would actually give these pieces to other sales guys that weren't as good as he was, so that he didn't have and hold so much power. There was no loyalty within these companies. And he went from one to the next. And he got so sick and tired of it that he said, I have got to do something for myself. Where is the loyalty? Where is that old school mentality of like on a handshake, you are going to stick with this company, we're going to reward you, and you're going to retire with us someday? That wasn't happening anymore. The industry was changing. People were being fired before retirement packages were paid out and hiring new young people for a quarter of the price. And Ron said, no, I don't accept that. I want to build a company that is mine, that has the values that I have, that I want to have a company that I'd want to work for. And lo and behold, he started WebForce Pro. Actually, it was called like Easy Site Master, EasyW Site back in the day. Anyways, but he started a company. He worked his butt off and he started to grow it. And he did it with the core values of what he believed made a good company. And the number one question he always asked was, would I want to work for the company I'm building? And that's it. That's why he started the company all the way back in the day, 22 years ago, that then roll forward 22 years later, Sotellus has come out of. And Sotellus Time.
Exactly.
And we have done that. He has built a company where we are literally putting pillars in place that are going to be with us until we all retire.
Yeah.
Company with values.
Exactly. All right.
Is that a good story? See, that's
story.
a great story.
There you go. All right. So another question you might think of is, or answer yourself is, why are you different from your competitors? You know, what is your USP, your unique selling proposition?
Right.
And that is a great story too. Like for us, if we were to just take Sotellus, we're the only verified video review platform in the world.
Right.
Nobody else does what we do, right? It makes us totally different. We can tell a story all about why we created the first, verified video review and why that's so important to businesses today.
And one of the things that we throw in there all the time that I think people relate to is we tell our guys, our employees, we are a customer service business first that happens to dabble in design, development, reviews, and marketing, right? Yep. And so that way, that's our story, right? So when they tell our clients that and they feel that from our employees, it's a win-win.
Exactly. Another question is, what is your company's purpose? Right? What are you trying to accomplish with your company?
We want to crush Yelp. Did I say that?
There you go. That could be a purpose, right? So another thing could be, do you have a charity or something that you support?
Smart. Awesome.
That you're very passionate about, and that, the success of your business leads to the success of those charities as well. Another question to ask yourself is, how do you help your customers succeed? That's a really important one.
That's probably the most important one.
Yes. And then what pain points do your customers feel? And then how do you alleviate those pain points?
Yes.
That's a great way to kind of determine, if you know what pain points you have, your customers have, you weave those into your story so that you remind your customers as they're listening to the story of like, oh, yes, you're poking them. Oh, yeah, I hate that. Oh, I hate this about that, right? And then you talk about how you alleviate all of that pain.
Right.
So that's a great way to develop your story. Another one is, what is your brand's promise? What kind of a promise do you have for your clients? That can be a big thing, right? A lot of businesses are just totally built on their promise.
Right.
Of like, we're 100% satisfaction guarantee. I remember a lot of home inspectors that we worked with back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
They built it on a promise of a 200% guarantee.
Yeah.
And what they did was, if you paid for a home inspection with them and you weren't completely satisfied, they would come out and do another home inspection for absolutely free.
Yep.
And if you still weren't satisfied, they would give you your money back plus pay for an inspection from somewhere else.
Yep. Now, remember, there was criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're not just giving everything away, because you're going to have that jack wagon here and there. So there was still parameters. So don't think like, I would never do that. Yeah, you would, because you create the parameters around this.
Yes.
But you give a great guarantee to these people that make them want to do business with you.
Yep, exactly. So that was their promise. What challenges do your customers face? And then how do you help them overcome those challenges?
Absolutely.
That's another way to look at it. So those are some really good questions that you can ask yourself. And from those answers, you should be able to start developing your story.
Correct.
Right? And sometimes multiple stories. I mean, we've already talked about multiple stories just from our businesses coming from those questions. Now, the other side of it is you want your story, but you also want to have your customer story. You need to be sharing your customer story. So how do you do that? How can you come up with customer stories? Number one is, what reviews do you have from your customers? You should go and look at every single review that you have on every single platform and try to find the reviews that really stand out as like, oh my gosh, this person loves us, or this person had a great experience with us, and here's what they said about us, right? So that's a great way to kind of search for those customers that have great stories, and then you can reach out to them. So do you also, another way is, have you changed a customer's life for the better? Do you know of, off of the top of your head, you know what, I've helped this customer, this customer, this customer, this customer, and this customer, and they said that I've completely changed their life, or I've made their life so much easier because of the service I provide.
Right.
Who has said that to you in the past? Those are customers that you want to talk to and get their stories. Do you have any customer before and after stories?
Right.
Have you ever had that customer say to you, oh man, before I started using your service, I worked 60 hours a week. I was dying. And since I've started using your service, I work 30 hours a week and I get to spend so much time with my kids.
It's awesome.
Great story, right? Go get that story. So think about the before and after stories from your customers. And even on the reviews that you're talking about, when you're looking at these things and trying to identify what are the best customer stories, don't just get the story from them of like what happened after they started using you. Make sure you get the before.
Correct.
Right? That the before is as important as the after, because you need to show the change in their life. So remember that when you're getting those stories. Now, how do you capture these customer stories? We'll give you a couple of ideas. One is through written reviews. You can email them, reach out to them, have them write down their story for you. Ask them for some photos.
Yeah.
If you can get photos from them. At a minimum, get photos of them personally so that you can put a face to the story. But any other photos that you can get, maybe it's about a project you've done or their business, anything that you can get, any additional detail just makes the story come to life.
Yep.
So that's one way to do it. Another thing, the very best way to do it is record a video of your customer.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. If you remember last week's podcast, we talked about recording those videos from our customers, their before and after stories of how their life changed, and it just absolutely exploded our market.
That's right. And remember, in that last week's podcast, we talked about how these weren't even good videos because we were using, I think, like I said, Skype at the time. And we were getting people in different countries too, right? Like one of our clients was a Canadian. And it was just, for some reason, the internet wasn't working very well that day. It was a crappy digitalized video, kind of just like, and yet we sold millions of dollars because of that.
Exactly. So when it comes to recording a video for a customer, here's a couple of ideas for you. Number one, you could just ask them to record the video for you, right, from one of their devices, and then send it over to you. That's probably my least favorite option.
Yep.
Just because, it's better if you can interact with them and you can pull more information out of their story if possible.
Yeah.
Or, give them a very easy way to record it. Because sometimes people just are like, I don't know how to do it. I don't have good lighting. I don't have this, You don't.
It doesn't have to be a videographer.
No, it does
not. In
not.
fact, a lot of times the very professional videos are less believable. So. Yep.
Exactly. Another thing, if you have Zoom, you could do a Zoom meeting and record the Zoom meeting of you talking to them. That's what we did with Laredo for back in the last podcast. We talked about that last episode. It was a Skype call and we were asking him questions. But now you could use Zoom and easily do that.
Right.
And then, of course, there's always the option of Sotellus.
Which is awesome.
You can just send them that link and they can instantly record a video for you right from their own device, their phone, and you can capture those and then automatically push them into your marketing. So that's another option as well. But no matter how you do it, I'm telling you, if you can get a video, it is 1,000, if not 1,000,000 times better.
Yes.
Than if you just get a written story from them.
Correct. All right. Well, right before homework, what I'm going to tell you too is like that idea of Troy said where you interview people. Now, you can get that over to a videographer or maybe someone that knows how to edit videos and stuff. And remember, you can be in the video if you want to. Try it both ways. But another way you can do it is almost that like old school Apple style where you're only seeing them on camera. You're asking them a question and they're answering it. So
Yeah.
you know they're answering a question. You know someone asked them something, but you're not actually hearing the question from the other side. So anyways, but I think that I know that video will absolutely change the way that you guys are going to affect the potential people that are going to come in the door.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed. It's an absolute guaranteed. And having that story is absolutely going to change, because you can see it's so much more fun to hear a story than it is to just get facts about a business. It's
Yep.
so boring. So anyways, all right, guys, let's jump into the homework. If you have not created your stories yet, get them done this week. We just gave you great ideas. Come on, you can come up with the story. Let me tell you, there's always a hero somewhere in your business. I promise. Maybe it's
Yes.
you. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But there's a hero. There is a theme. There is a woe, which is what, the problem that you're solving for your customers is.
Yep.
And there's an ending to it of success. You win. They win because of you. So find that story, create it this week. If you did create it this week, take time to make it even better utilizing the things that we just talked about. You can tweak it and you can make it better 100%. It's like I was telling, and maybe I said it in the last podcast or a couple podcasts ago, but it's like we have seen some speakers lately that we thought their stories were going to be amazing. And then they told their stories and they were the most boring. They were so boring. But yet I'm like, I could have took that story and just blown everybody away.
Yep.
Okay. So take it from storytellers. We're storytellers. You can make your story better. Don't let it be boring. And one of the ways to do that is bounce it off of people.
Yes.
Bounce it off your family and friends. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. We love you. We hope that you had a great time. We will check you guys on the next episode of So Tell Us Time.